So this is the day that I let myself do whatever I feel like doing. I got up, had french fries, loaded french fries for breakfast. I fasted yesterday, by the way. And although I said I was going to make a video honoring Jaylin today, I'm having a really hard time putting myself in the headspace. So I decided I want to do over. I'm going back to bed, and then I will try it again when I wake up. So, yeah, sometimes you just got to give yourself grace, and this is going to be one of those days for me. So I'm going to take a nap and then attempt to get back up and work on this video today. How am I feeling today? I have no idea. I haven't checked in with me today. I'm almost afraid to. Anyway, I'm off to take a nap. Bye, friend. Hey, friend, it's Demetra. Welcome to a very special video. Today is the 10-year anniversary of my firstborn son's passing. I have intended all week long, actually for the last 2 weeks, to try to film this video in honor of him on his anniversary, and all weeks have went by and I have been unable to gather myself to make this video. So here I am today, raw and uncut, making this video. I have been drained all week. I really feel like it was the anticipation of the day just really wiped me out, honestly. I don't have any other explanation. I was sleeping well and I would just still be so drained, and I know that could come from depression. So today has even been hard. I got up, and it was my intention to make this video as soon as I got up so I could get it uploaded in honor of him earlier in the day, but I literally did not have it in me. I got up, had some coffee, and went back to bed and got back up. Still hadn't even wrote out what I wanted to say in the video. So this has been very difficult for me to do, but it was very important for me to honor him on this day in this way, to discuss surviving child loss. Not to teach somebody else how to survive it, but discussing my journey with surviving child loss. I don't necessarily feel like healing from child loss is a thing, because I feel like there's no closure with grief, period, as far as I'm concerned. But absolutely, when you lose a child, like, there's no closure. So for me, healing comes with like a destination, and I feel like that I will never reach a destination. I will forever be surviving. That's just my theory on it. That may not apply to everybody else. However, that's how it applies to me. And for your journey, you have to do what is best for you and what works for your journey. I wrote a lot of things out, and I hope that it's okay that I just read from what I wrote, because my thoughts are all kind of jumbled today, and I just don't even have the mental capacity to try to formulate thoughts. Like, the best that I could do was really writing it out on paper. I did a live on YouTube in honor of Jaylin on his birthday, which would have been his 30th birthday in May of this year. I will share that video or link somewhere in this video if you want to take a look at that. I go into more detail about what happened to Jaylin and how he passed away. He was my firstborn. He was the one that made me a mama. And I'm going to look down here at my paper, guys, because, yeah, I'm exhausted. So I wanted to start out by just sharing a little bit about Jaylin. He was my firstborn child. I had him when I was 16 years old, and he was funny and loving and full of personality from the beginning. And he loved playing football, and he played from flag to college football every year, unless he was injured, which was a couple of times throughout the years, but he was still very active. Even on his crutches, he would be at practice and things like that, just on the sidelines watching his teammates. So he was very passionate about football, and it was his dream to eventually be a coach someday. which is what he was going to college for, and playing football, to stay in that field. He loved his family, and he loved spending time with his family, not just his immediate family, like his uncles, his cousins, of course, us, his brother, his brothers, on my husband's side. He had 2 stepbrothers. And so Jaylen just loved family. He loved friends. He was the person that you could count on when you were in need. So many of his friends shared stories with me after he passed away about how he had helped them through depression, or how he had taken up for them when they were being bullied, or he helped them in some kind of way, whether it was giving them a ride or, loaning them money. He was a helper at heart. And I learned so much more about my son when he passed away. And it was amazing to hear all those stories. And I was really blown away at all the things that I learned about him that I wish I had have known while he was still here. I lost more than a son when he passed away. I lost all my hopes and dreams for him. I lost any chance for having grandchildren by him. I lost what memories we could have made together, my hopes and dreams for him as far as a career, a wife, all these. What would he have been like now? What would his relationship would have been like with his brother? Just so many different things that I lost. It's more than just losing a son. I lost our bond. It's also important for me to note that Jaylen was not the only child that I lost. When he was 10, I lost a daughter to stillbirth. I was 20 weeks pregnant when I went into preterm labor with Jaden, and went into the hospital because I started dilating. Because I had an incompetent or weak cervix, and I had a surgery trying to save the pregnancy, and 2 weeks in the hospital. When I was getting ready to go home, my water broke and I had to deliver her, and she was unable to survive. So she was buried in a town that I lived in at the time. But after Jaylen passed away, I had her moved, and she is now resting at his feet. It's just important for me to share that I have lost 2 children. I talk about Jaylen a lot because there's so much more with him. I have memories to share about him, and things to discuss regarding his life and his personality and what happened to him. But I also have a story on my channel discussing my loss of Jaden as well. And I will share that in the description box. The purpose in today's video is for me to share that after child loss, others know that there can be life after loss, but you have to work on it. You have to work for it. You have to be intentional about it. Because for years, I was just going through the motions. I was existing. I was not living. And I realized that if I wanted any quality of life, if I wanted joy in this life, I had to go after it. I was using escapism and suppression as a way of coping with, or avoiding coping with, my grief. And no matter how much you try to run from it, it will show up in other ways. I can't speak for how it will show up for you. Only you and God knows. For me, it showed up in developing an even more unhealthy relationship with food than what I already had. I went to food for comfort. I gave up on life. I stopped taking care of myself. And I was just truly just going through the motions. I did what I needed to do. I did maintain my job. I went to work. But outside of anything that I absolutely had to do, I did not participate. I was not an active participant in life. I would watch my son and my husband go do recreational activities, whether it was going swimming, going to the park, going to the movies, whatever it was that they were doing, and I chose to sit home on the couch. And then for all the moms out there, I'm sure at some point in time you have experienced mom guilt. And so the guilt started setting in as Javon got older, which is my youngest. In my live last night, I kept calling him 13. He's not 13. He turned 14 2 weeks ago, and I'm still trying to process that. So please forgive me for misquoting his age. He is 14, my 14-year-old. As he began to get older each passing year, and I'm watching him change, his personality is changing, and I'm just on the sidelines watching, and I'm like, I have to be more present. I desire to be more present in this life for him. And now I would go to therapy, don't get me wrong, over the years, because I had mentioned before that I've been to 8 therapists. I would go to therapy, but I wasn't getting anything out of it. And I was actually spending that time still avoiding it. Like, I would go in there and tell them, like, I'm here and I want to focus on my grief and, process this and work through this. But then I never did. And I would always, it would always be something else. It'd always be something else to talk about in therapy. So I was still avoiding my grief and suppressing my grief, which was showing up through my relationship with food, as I wasted and ate away on the couch and gained weight. Now, I went through the stages of grief: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and finally some acceptance. But that didn't begin, as far as the acceptance, until about 3 years ago, when I found the right therapist to truly help me deal with this. And when I went in there to him, I told him, this has to be my focus. Please keep me focused. Please keep me accountable. I need to work through this grief so that I can be an active participant in my son's life. And he told me that he understood, and he totally agrees with wanting to be an active participant in my son's life, but he also reminded me that I matter too. Before starting therapy, I was going through all the other stages, looking for purpose and trying to make sense out of what happened to Jaylin. I suppressed it for as long as I could, just waiting for time to pass by, thinking that healing was going to come naturally on its own, just after a certain amount of time. I lived in a state of fear, as I had already lost 2 out of the 3 of my children. So I had anxiety all the time, fearful that something would happen to Javon as well. I thrusted myself into many different things, trying to find purpose in what happened to Jaylin. I initially got involved in MAD, Mothers Against Drunk Driving, and participated in that only for a year, until I was advised not to speak on the situation because the things that I was speaking on were not proven, so I needed to be careful for legal reasons. So basically I had to be silenced. So I removed myself from that arena. Although my son passed tragically in a car accident, I felt that it was due to negligence. And so I thrust myself into seeking justice. And that was short-lived. Once the court case and all of that was over, there was nothing else for me to focus on. So that's when I just started suppressing, escapism, to avoid the inevitable pain. Because when you lose a child, it's a pain so strong and intense, you can't even describe it. There are no words. So in order to avoid my own pain, I would run to the aid of others and food to keep my pain away. I watched my husband and son make memories without me. I knew I didn't want to continue life this way, and that if I wanted any quality of life, I had to be intentional about my healing. And I don't really know if I believe in healing from child loss, but I knew I needed to heal from other trauma in my life and focus on survival from losing Jalen. In 2021, almost 7 years after he passed, I made the decision to focus on grieving my loss for survival for my youngest to have the mom he deserves. I call Javon my saving grace because he is the reason I knew I had to survive. I have been in therapy since 2021, actively working through my grief. It has been challenging as I felt allowing myself to grieve my loss would mean I was letting Jalen go, when I desperately needed to hold on to him. My therapist taught me that I can hold space in my heart and life for two things at the same time: my love and grief for Jalen, and also finding joy in life for myself. Applying this concept is when I truly allowed myself to process my loss and rebuild my life. I'm currently still in this process. I'm intentional about my grieving, and I'm intentional about living life as I hold space in my life for them both. This is Jalen's hoodie from when he played college football at Kentucky Christian University. And I love wearing it, especially on these occasions, because I feel like I'm getting a big hug from him. This is his fingerprint from my sister. She had the funeral home take his fingerprint and had this necklace made for me. On the back of it, it says, "My son, my love forever." And then this is his birthstone. He was born in May, and it is an emerald. This is a blanket that I had made from all of his clothes. It's like a queen size. It's very big. And I just had, and I was very intentional when I chose clothes, because of course he had a ton of clothes. So I chose pieces that I had either pictures of him in or very special memories of him in. So I have this in my bedroom, and it's usually on the back of the recliner beside my bed. And it's comforting for me, and it was a way for me to repurpose some of his clothes. And something I will forever cherish is this blanket. So on today, 10 years, which it does not feel like it has been that long since I last talked to or hugged or saw my son on this side. But it has been 10 years. So take what you will away from this video if you have lost a child. If you haven't, I pray that you never do. I pray to God that you never do have to experience this. It's something I would not wish on my worst enemy. This is not medical advice at all. I am doing the best I can with what I have. And I guess my advice would be to be like, if you want to heal, it's not going to happen on its own, or survive. It's not going to happen on its own. You have to be intentional. You have to be intentional. But you can't force it. Because I've tried to do that as well over the years. And I was like either escaping it or trying to force it. And you just can't. Only you'll know when you're ready. But just give yourself grace. Remember your child in love. Hold on to the memories. Write them letters. I have some fond memories of Jaylin. I remember the last picture that we took together. We had a mother-son date at his favorite Mexican restaurant, which we're going to eat at tonight in memory of him. So I had both of my sons and myself, and I'll share the picture. I have fond memories of me catching him dancing in the mirror.
I see y'all over.
I came across what I thought was a picture of him in his phone after he passed away, only to find out it was a video. He thought he was taking a picture, so he was posing for the picture. He was known for his smile. So in what he thought was a picture, he smiled and it ended up being a video. So I'll share that as well, because it always makes me feel good to see that. I'm sure I will have sprinkled some other pictures and or videos throughout this video to share my son with you guys.
You got ice cream in your face.
So that's all I have. I'm going to go and honor him by having his favorite food. We'll go to the cemetery, and I'm going to be gentle with myself for the day. So, until next time, bye, friend.